Charlie, it doesn't matter much anymore. The truth of the matter is, no one doubts our power. We don't have a superpower arrangement where where there's any power in the world that the President of the United States could be turned down tomorrow on almost anything, and no nation in the world is going to say, aha, the United States is weak. No one is going to fool around with the 800-pound gorilla. That they wouldn't fool around with it if they weren't going to do it already. So this notion, it used to be though, when you had a situation where you had two competing superpowers and we failed to enter into a circumstance where there was a quote, third world country, where there was a competition for control of that country and a competition for them being in one camp or the other, then it had consequences that were real. Quite frankly, if we decided tomorrow to go into anywhere or not to go into anywhere, it's not going to change the calculus of NATO, it's not going to change the calculus of the Russians, it's not going to change the calculus of the Chinese, and they're the things that matter to us. The distinction between Bosnia and Haiti, for example. If some of us are right on Bosnia, that this ethnic cleansing has the potential to rear its ugly head in Ukraine and in Belarus and in the former Soviet Union, where they have major arsenals of nuclear weapons, where they have long histories of national wars, where ethnicity dominates, that is a phenomenal potential consequence to the United States. If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest.
Hello guys, welcome to the 1804. So today we'll be going over a few things, mainly an interesting article I found on the CBC, which I'll share with you, an update on the UN Security Council meeting in New York, as well as police riots that transpired in Haiti. So let's take a look, and yes, keep in mind this is a later episode, so you'll probably get this if you're in North America Friday morning at the latest. So let's get going here. So article from CBC explaining here, Canada still hasn't seized a single dollar through its Haiti sanctions. So for first time here, I'll give you a background information on this. So at the time, Canada, by the end of the year, so around November and December, had sanctioned many political actors in Haiti and some even oligarchs. Some of those figures consisted of former Prime Minister Laurent Lamotte, politicians and senators such as René Célestin and Fourcan, and even oligarchs such as Gilbert Biggio. So part of these sanctions, the idea was for these sanctions was that they were contributing to the Canadian reasoning for these sanctions was that they're contributing to the humanitarian crisis in Haiti, and they're involved in financing gangs, which are contributing to the crisis in Haiti, mainly kidnappings. So that post-sanctions, so they can't, in terms of any type of assets or finances that they have in Canada would be completely seized, or they couldn't even conduct any type of financial transaction on Canadian soil. So now this article comes out here by Evan Dyer, but shows Canada still hasn't seized a single dollar through its Haiti sanctions. And with the picture here of one of the sanctioned senators, René Célestin, who's got a $4.2 million house in Laval. And just so you guys know, the salary of a senator working in Haiti does not allow you to buy a $4.2 million house. Meaning it's not even enough. Like, unless you're making money elsewhere, definitely not money from by working in the public sector in Haiti. So I'll take a look here, and then we'll go over it down here. Sanctions imposed by the federal government on 15 of Haiti's most prominent power brokers have not led to asset seizures or freezes, despite the presence of those assets in Canada. So, for example, an asset like Ronnie Celestin's house, which I'm assuming he's paying some type of mortgage um, on it, or some like financing insurance, seems like he's still able to live and reap the benefits of living in Canada for now. Under the pressure from the Biden administration to take the lead on Haiti and facing a request from the Haitian government to send a military force to restore order to the troubled island, the government of Justin Trudeau has instead based its approach on sanctioning individuals it claims are involved in the country's ongoing humanitarian crisis. This cannot be an imposed solution from the outside. The helpful friend bringing forth aid, Prime Minister Trudeau told the Francophonie Summit in Tunisia in November. This is why we're proceeding with sanctions. In fact, Canadian officials have criticized other countries for not following Canada's approach, which is true because if you look at most of these politicians, or most of the most of the Haitian politicians, in terms of like having an effect on these sanctions, which I've mentioned many times, they definitely have more an effect if the U.S. took sanctions against them rather than Canada or any other country. And I'd even put the Dominican Republic ahead of Canada in that regard, in terms of having effect in choking out any type of financing to gangs or illicit activity. Mainly because most of their time spent outside of Haiti is in the U.S. Some of them have dual citizenship. Like they're American citizens or hold American visas as well. But CBC has learned that despite the presence of assets in Canada that could be sanctioned, not a single dollar belonging to any of the 15 prominent Haitians sanctioned by Canada has been frozen or seized. So that house that everybody knows by now, again in this picture, Rony Celestin's house, based on this article, seems that it has not been seized, even though Canada put those sanctions. So let's take a look why. Monique Kleska is a former UN official and prominent member of Haiti's Montana Accord, a coalition that seeks to unite the country's opposition to the unelected Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Haiti has been swamped by gang violence since the assassination of its president, Jovenel Moïse, in July 2021. Excuse me. She said that when Canada first began sanctioning members of Haiti's political elite in early November of last year, many Haitians welcomed the news. It made huge news, and the reaction was that finally something was happening, she told CBC News from Port-au-Prince. I think people rejoice because of that. At least somebody's doing something. That is one of the policies that we had been urging, that the partners should follow the money and should apply laws in their countries. Kleska said it came as a shock to learn that the sanctions have not produced any real action. I'm surprised because Canada is a state and a country that has functioning government. Canada has made a big deal about those sanctions, she said. When I say it has made a big deal about it, we have the Minister Joly who has talked about it, Prime Minister Trudeau who has talked about it, and the ambassador who has talked about it. So, which is true, all these sanctions were imposed. Mélenchon, Trudeau, and Carrière were even advocating and, you could say, backing up these sanctions. Yet there has not been any effect, which now begs me the questions: what was, in Canada's standpoint, what was the real intentions of posing these sanctions? And in that, in terms of intention, was it political play, which we've been alluding to, maybe that this might be something just to look good on the international level, and there might be some underlying reason for that. Political play could be, in fact, a thing, considering that there actually has been zero effects, and it's not like these sanctions were posed on, like, let's just say January 24th, 25th, or anytime this week. It's been months now. It's been months now of these sanctions being placed, and yet there has nothing to be done. So there's definitely people should definitely be questioning the real intention of Canada's sanctions on these Haitian politicians, considering the fact that even then let's be clear. In terms of the sanctions they posed, these gangs that like these politicians were always operating with gangs or financing gangs, the ones that they sanction. So the timing of it now, when they started sanctioning in November, that should be definitely questioned. Secondly, as well, too, even with these sanctions, not a single dollar is seized. So now there hasn't been follow up questions to this article, which I'd be interested to see a response from Prime Minister Trudeau, or mainly specifically Melanie Joly, on these, because since a single dollar has not been seized. At the same time, um, what does this mean for the people in Haiti? Well, then again, already these are the effects of the Canadian sanctions would have been minimal considering the big picture. Especially without the full cooperation with the United States by matching the sanctions that Canada had put against these political actors. But it's kind of shocking in a sense that like there's all this news and propped up, and yet there hasn't been real action. And I've always been told to like don't listen to what they say, but watch what they do, like what people's actions instead of what they say. And really what you can see here is the same old stuff from the international community, not really help, and nor do they owe Haiti any type of help. But then again, you can see that this type of help is under the guide. This type of international help is seen as a good thing, but really there seems to be different underlying intent, because you just have to use your head, really, like you just use common sense and think, okay, well, Canada put these sanctions on these political actors. Why wouldn't the work be done to actually seize those assets? Why go through this whole announcement talking about giving a morality speech on how democracy needs to be restored and all that shit, and yet there hasn't been any effort on Canadian soil to do anything about it, even though sanctions weren't even asked by the Haitian population. It was then again, yes, it came as a consensus at the United Nations table, but they're not really following up with those actions as well. So then again, and these type of things and it's dangerous, because these type of things too leave the door wide open for quote unquote conspiracy theories, in the sense that, just to me, quickly glancing at this looks like, okay, well, we took sanctions, but we're not actually taking action and putting into action. Means either, okay, well, we're buddy buddies with these political actors, or we don't have any real intention in imposing these sanctions because we have an underlying intent. So there's definitely something going on here, especially from a country like Canada, with a serious country. There's definitely something going on, I think, at least in my opinion. We'll see what goes on, but let me finish the article here. Even though the government has not seized or frozen any assets belonging to the 15 men targeted by sanctions, Joly's department says the sanctions still have had an effect. Sanctioned individuals are subject to dealings bans, said a global affairs spokesperson. As a result, listed individuals cannot access Canada's financial system and businesses. Okay. They can't conduct financial activities or transactions in Canada or with other Canadians. So I'll read that again. So, spokesperson for global affairs saying, as a result of these sanctions, these individuals can't access any financial system and businesses. They can't conduct financial activities or transaction in Canada. Okay, so in terms of the assets being frozen, seems like there's none, or has been reported that there's none here. So stuff like accessing banks, or even like buying coffee at a coffee shop, seems like they wouldn't be able to do so. Doing so is a criminal offense. This creates a massive opportunity cost for individuals listed who might otherwise have engaged in business dealings. So here it says, the way this sentence frame seems to me that in terms of like the ban or cannot access, it's either like, I don't know if they mean like they cannot access, meaning if they try to make a payment, it won't work, or meaning like if they try and make any type of financial transaction in Canada, it'll work. But since they're sanctioned, it's illegal for them to do so. Therefore, they'd be committing a criminal act and they could face consequences on Canadian soil. So the article doesn't specify how exactly these sanction works, whether or not they're completely banned, or if they can go buy something at Best Buy or Tim Hortons, go to a coffee shop, get something. But then if it were to find out, if the government or somehow, whatever, whichever agency is responsible to oversee this, were to find out that they had made a transaction, then in that case, they would suffer consequences. It does not specify that in here. In other words, sanctioned individuals are not going to be able to do anything with Canada. They are pariahs. And when we impose sanctions in coordination with our allies, as we have done with the United States, these individuals have practically nowhere left to go. Kleska agreed that the sanctions have hurt the reputation of politicians affected, which is true. These sanctions can affect the reputation of politicians, but I want to be clear, like, people that know these politicians and know how government officials work in Haiti, the ones that are close to them kind of knew the reputation and know that some of these guys, or if not half, at least half of these guys, are in some time of criminal activity, either financing gangs or drug running. But now their reputation on the international community, maybe people that don't know much about Haitian politicians, yes, definitely ruined their reputation on an international stage because it brought the spotlight to them as well. So recent developments suggest that at least some of those 15 individuals are shaving under the sanctions. Former Haitian PM Laurent Lamotte has threatened legal action against the government of Canada. This week, former PM Jean-Henri Séan wrote to the Secretary General of the United Nations to protest Canada's sanctions. He said he's retained a Canadian law firm to represent him. Kleska said the shame may even be putting a crimp in some of the men's political plans as Haiti's oligarch jockeys to eventually replace the unpopular Henri. These people were the ones who were probably thinking of preparing their campaigns for whenever there are elections, said Kleska. Some of them used to speak quite loudly, and some of them, since being sanctioned, have stopped speaking publicly. Financial institutions, always reluctant to follow out with the government officials, especially the U.S., can also refuse to do business with sanctioned individuals. This impedes them from supporting corruption and illegal activities of armed gangs, said Global Affairs spokesperson. This is having a real impact on the ground, Haiti's newspaper's record, Le Nouvelliste, characterizes sanctions as causing a political earthquake. But while they're welcoming Canada's sanctions as better than nothing, many Haitians had hoped to see those enrich themselves at their expense, compelled to pay up. Sanctions are kind of like a smokescreen. To justify that, yes, Canada is taking a leadership role, said Haitian Canadian France André, a member of Solidarité Québec Haïti. He first brought to light 2020 purchase of extravagant villa in Laval-sur-le-Lac, Quebec, by now sanctioned Haitian Senator René Célestin. Célestin's wife, Marie-Louisa Aubin-Célestin, is one of 5 Haitian consuls in Montreal. Her name went on the deed for the cash purchase on the $4.25 million house in December 2020. 5 months later, she shared the title to the house with her husband. Célestin has argued that the source of his wealth and his business interest in Petrogaz Haiti, in Petrogaz Haiti, a company with a website that describes major global operations, including hundreds of oil rigs and dozens of refineries. But a search by CBC News found no evidence of any such large-scale business. The U.S. Treasury Department says the real source of Célestin's wealth is drug trafficking. And again, no one has a salary. They're not paying you millions to in Haiti to be a senator. No one's making that kind of money. Brian E. Nelson, Undersecretary of the Treasury for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, last month described Célestin and another Haitian senator as corrupt Haitian politicians abusing their power to further drug trafficking activities across the region. The Treasury Department accused Sélection of trafficking drugs from Venezuela into Haiti, and then they're on the U.S. and then the Bahamas. Andres said the Celestin mansion in Laval is an obvious example of corruptly acquired asset, and the government of Canada should have moved against it as soon as the sanctions took effect. Canada has to show that they have taken action, he said. Seize the assets, say how much the assets are worth, and send it back to legitimate Haitians in Haiti. Clescott said the Quebecville has become a well-known symbol of corruption in Haiti. It is an emblematic case and the most obvious one. So I think it behooves Canada to explain why it hasn't moved forward with this case in particular, as well as all the others, she said. So yeah, that's crazy. So dude still has his house. So now begs the question too, like, do these sanctions, the American sanctions, do they really have an effect on these politicians too? And even the sections taken on Martelly, Biggio, and Lamotte, do they really have an effect? Because based on this article, seems like it's not really doing anything. So we'll see how this goes. Something we'll definitely keep an eye on. If the Canada will actually do something with these, actually take effect with these sanctions. So. Second story I wanted to focus on here is the Security Council meeting. As Security Council meets again on Haiti, Lalume's still pushing for foreign intervention. Those of you who don't know about the Security Council meeting, it's essentially just a meeting taking at the UN in New York, discussing security issues with some certain countries. There's Somalia, Haiti, I believe there's definitely a few other countries, but the one on Haiti, they just kind of discuss and give updates on what's going on and what are possible solutions. And each country, a representative of the countries involved, give their 2 cents on their thoughts and what they believe could be a good solution, as well as raise other questions too. So on January 24th, the United Nations Security Council again reviewed the situation in Haiti at the request of the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who continues to pressure for foreign military intervention into the country of 12 million. In addition to the 5 permanent members, the US, Russia, China, and France, and the UK, and 10 rotating members newly joined this month by Ecuador, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, and Switzerland, the meeting heard statements from Canada, the DR, and Haiti. Elena Lim Guterres, a missionary to Haiti and the outgoing chief of the UN's integrated office in Haiti, gave the only briefers report to the meeting, which was chaired this month by Japan, the last UNSC meeting on Haiti on December 21st, 2022. Also had briefings by Gabon's ambassador, Michel Zanvier-Bieng, and journalist Kim Ives. As usual, the BNU chief began with opening summary of Haiti's dysfunction. Haiti-related violence has reached levels not seen in decades. She began murders and kidnappings increased for a 4th consecutive year. 1,359 kidnappings were recorded in 2022, more than doubling the record in 2021, averaging roughly 4 per day. So this is just a statement from statement from Lalim. She announced that BNU, with the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, would soon release reports on the turf wars involving 2 gang coalitions, namely the G9 coalition and JPEP, saying their battles were part of the well-defined strategies designed to subjugate populations and expand territorial control. Nowhere did she highlight the G9's coalition explicitly anti-crime agenda versus JPEP kidnapping criminal gang composition of Tilapri, Izo, Franjamaozo, and Vitalom. So here again, so she said here that they're waiting on they'll release a report. It's revolving the turf wars involving gangs, namely the G9 coalition and GPEP, which, if you guys have seen previous episode, the G9 coalition and GPEP is the gang of Jimmy Cherizier. However, it's not like the normal gangs you see terrorizing the Haitian population. They're actually fighting against these actual gangs that are conducting kidnappings, killings, rapes, and at the same time they're trying to protect the poor neighborhoods from these gangs as well. So if you recall, and if you've seen the Another Vision documentary by Ati Liberté, you'll see that in the documentary, in the first episode, where the RNDDH had reported that Jimmy Cherizier had committed a massacre in La Saline, which was then used by the mainstream media, and they ran with it, and which is essentially pinned Jimmy Cherizier as the main gang problem in Haiti when it comes to gangs. So here you see that soon there'll be released a report of turf wars involving two gang coalitions, namely G9 and GPEP. But never that's even never come out of their mouth that there's other gangs in Haiti. Like they've even sanctioned Jimmy Cherizier. But there's no mention of Tilapri, who literally they're the ones that literally had kidnapped those American missionaries about 2 years ago. And even full force put responsibility. And even with that too, the United States launched not an investigation. I'd have to go look into it, but essentially looking out for their arrest per se, even though they wouldn't be able to leave Haitian soil. So she keeps mentioning, so this report that's going to talk about the G9 coalition, GPEP, we'll see what it says in that report, because really the narrative is not it's not that Jimmy Cherizier is causing havoc. He's actually fighting against the system in that sense and protecting neighborhoods from these types of the actual real gangs like Tilapri, Izo, and Frangema. And it's interesting to see that this continued narrative, because the Security Council has been there since 2019. I think once we get to September, it'll be officially 4 years. Yet there has not been any talks or even some words from Lalim's mouth regarding the gangs of Tilapri, Izo, Frangema, and Vitalom. So, and then again, this is something where you can just use your head here. All these gangs, and then where the Tilapri, which in Izo, and all these Katsumazo, which are responsible for most of the kidnappings in Haiti, are not even getting be announced or potentially mentioned in this report. Yet the guy that's actually trying to help, although the mainstream is not going to portray it that way, I'm not naive, but the guy that's actually trying to help and actually is for the people, that's the report that's going to come out soon will be based on him and not the actual shit disturbers going. So, and again, if you're new here, this is to show you this is how the international community works with mainstream media. You can frame a type of story, people will read it, and then once people read it, they'll shape their opinion and have their views on that. So another way to really manufacture consent, because now if I were to say, and there's no information to say, like if I were to say, if people knew that these gangs were responsible for most of the kidnappings and most of the stuff going on, and they knew that Jimmy Cherizier was more of a revolutionary figure rather than a gang leader, the public opinion of people will be vastly different than what I'm suspecting their opinions are of what's going on in Haiti today, mainly related to gang activities. So we'll continue here. Without naming any specific perpetrators, Lalim reported that gangs have increasingly resorted to the deliberate killing of men, women, and children with sniper positions on rooftops. Dozens of women and children as young as 10 years old have been brutally raped as a tactic to spread fear and destroy the social fabric of communities under the control of rival gangs. Besieging and displacing whole populations already living in extreme poverty, gangs have intentionally blocked access to food, water, and amidst of cholera outbreak health services. Close to 5 million people are facing conditions of acute hunger across the country, and while 90% of schools are now operating, thousands of children, especially those living in gang-affected areas, are yet to start school. The humanitarian response plan will likely be close to double that of 2022. Lalim never laid any blame for the dreadful scenario she described on the government of de facto Prime Minister Ariel Henry. On the contrary, she explicitly lauded at the government by pointing to a promising key development, the formation of the National Consensus Agreement for Inclusion, Transition, and Transparent Elections, supported, she claimed, by a broad spectrum of political figures, civil societies, religious authorities, which again, these religious authorities, there was articles coming out, a lot of Catholic priests were involved in running guns to gangs. So religious authorities who know if their heart's in the right place in this situation. But yep, religious authorities, trade unions, and obviously the private sector. And then again, the private sector is also responsible for the gangs in Haiti, because there's two different type of gangs. There's the ones literally just there's normal gangs that they're just doing whatever they want. There's not really a head um that's really influencing them. They kind of, you could have just started a gang and you're either selling drugs or guns. There's the gangs from the private sector itself, so paid by entrepreneurs, private sector in Haiti to commit acts of crimes against other businesses or protect their business in that sense. There's the international community financing, which I believe in terms of the financing of proxy wars, in a sense of trying to create and when I say proxy wars or proxy gangs, trying to create a situation or a problem so you can find a reason to go fix that problem. So in the case of Haiti, create a gang problem, and then what's the fix? Well, international intervention. Let's go in and get rid of these gangs. And then there's the gangs of really you could say honestly politicians, which can coincide with the private sector as well. But you got the gangs of politicians that carry out their types, any type of threats or anything they wish to throughout, either kidnapping, threat, or steal. So there's different sorts of gangs that when you break it down, look at Haiti's situation. She did not mention that the new coalition was met with a chorus of outrage, ridicule, and commendation in the Haitian press, social media, and political class, particularly from Henri's arch-rival coalition, the Montana Accord. Several of the consensus signers, like the Haitian Boy Scouts, disavowed ever signing the new political accord, which conveniently was sealed as the December 21st UNSC meeting took place. And one man signed on behalf of 3 different organizations. On the contrary, Lalim claimed adherents are growing every day. So the narrative is completely different from what Lalim is presenting to compared to what the actual reality is. So we'll see how that goes. They're still pushing for an intervention. However, I'll show you in this article here. You see that U.S. and Canada is not necessarily interested in sending armed forces to Haiti. It's not necessarily new, but I'll give you some statements from UN ambassador here. Canada's UN ambassador Rob Ray said that the world needs to learn from all previous military interventions in Haiti, which failed to bring long-term stability to the country, and ensure that in the future solutions must be headed by Haitians and Haitian institutions. Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry and the country's Council of Ministers sent an urgent appeal October 7th calling for the immediate deployment of specialized armed force in sufficient quantity to stop the crisis caused partly by the criminal actors of armed gangs. So, nothing new here. No one really, the United States doesn't really want to, like, U.S. doesn't want to send their troops on Haitian soil, nor do I think it's a priority for them right now, and even Canada as well, which is why we saw late last year, the push from Trudeau meeting with the CARICOM states and try and see if there was if they could lead some type of intervention or of community help. And even now, Tuesday, this is from CELAC. And CELAC, if you don't know, it's the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, similar to the OAS, but it does not have the U.S. as its head or involved in it. But even INRE had urged member countries to participate in an international force, similar to what Trudeau had asked the CARICOM, the Caribbean states, to do. So it seems that if there were, and so it looked to me now that the U.S. in terms of like boots on the ground from Haiti or Canada, not Haiti or Canada, U.S. and Canada seems to be completely out the window now. An international force or training from the Caribbean or Latin American countries seems to still be a possibility. De facto Prime Minister Alain Henry is still pushing for it, even though that there's other ways that, and that's the thing again, like they're asking for help in the international community, but there's other ways you can tackle um gang issues in Haiti. Obviously main thing, funding for the police, obviously militarization, which Haiti is one of the few countries in the world that does not have a military. And this brought me to this article here. And so President El Salvador Bukele won elections in 2019, and similar to Haiti, El Salvador had similar gang problems, but wider gang problems, where this journal here states that there's over 70,000 gangs just operating in the country. So when we're talking about gang problems, it's kind of like it's almost a culture in El Salvador. And the reason I brought this up is that he tried to tackle the gang issues differently, and I want to draw some parallels here with El Salvador and Haiti here. So President Nayib Bukele, who assumed office in June 2019, had declared that his administration is taking special measures to combat gang and homicides. He has also vowed to improve safety and bring more jobs to El Salvador. This article examined the trends in the recent crackdown and the consequences of such policies. It's not the first time Salvadoran government has implemented mano duro policies. Francisco Flores launched Iron Fist strategies, which appealed to the public's demand for the need to combat gangs, crime, and violence. President Tony Saka, who served from 2004 to 2009, learned from lessons of his predecessors and doubled down on tough and crime strategies. Other administrations like Mauricio Funes from left-wing for Farabundo Marti National Liberation Front negotiated truce between the gangs and the government between 2012 and 2014, which this is crazy to me, because here you see, which the gang is so big that the government actually negotiate with gangs in the country rather than eliminating them, which in this case, I don't think Haiti needs a solution like that, even already with the fact that politicians already buddy with these gangs, or some of them are even financing it. Already in this case, I don't think it would be a good idea for Haitians or Haiti the government, if you were to come to this, to take this type of approach. The government wanted to decrease the number of homicides, while the gang leaders wanted to be transferred to lower security prisons and have better conditions behind bars. The government did not publicly acknowledge the truce and later arrested truce negotiators after the breakdown of the agreement. While homicides dropped because of the truce, El Salvador became the most violent country in the world in 2015, with a homicide rate of more than 100 per 100,000 inhabitants. In 2015, the Salvadoran Supreme Court labeled gangs as terrorists. This enabled the Salvadoran Sanchez administration, so the president before Bukele, to justify the crackdown against gangs and the deployment of military. It also signaled the public that the government treated gangs as a top security threat. So this I agree with. Label them as terrorists, but then by that saying, they would justify the deployment of the military. But the thing with Haiti is there's only the national police. There's no military. And with military, obviously, you get military equipment like tanks, other armored vehicles, and other type of equipment. The Haitian National Police are not trained to use a lot of these type of military equipment. Obviously, things like assault rifles, they're trained to use. But the type of equipment that the military will be able to use and to remove gangs is not the same that the Haitian National Police has. So, go here. So while the Bukele administration extended the state of emergency and arrested more than 50,000 gang members, history reveals that tough on crime strategies have unintended consequences. First, scholars noted that the Salvadorian government has arrested, rearrested, and released suspected gang members before. The arrest rates can help signal the public that the government is winning war against gangs, while the underlying issues contribute to gang membership, crime, and violence are not being solved. Second, the crackdowns have led to proliferation in the prison population. In 2000, El Salvador had a prison population of 7,754 people. By 2010, the prison population spiked to 24,662 inmates. In 2020, El Salvador had a prison population of 37,190, a rate of 572 per 100,000 inhabitants. Today, El Salvador has the highest incarceration rate in the world. Salvadorian prisons function as a school of crime, and they have enabled gangs to better organize. So, see here, the gang activities have lowered in El Salvador. However, they are still have an issue. But it is to show it is a bit more, it's a tougher task than it is. But this, again, shows me that I think proper funding, you can take action from within rather than asking the international community to come in and help. Because at the end of the day, if money goes into training Haitian National Police, building up the military, and actually financing and upholding the military, I'm confident to believe that it would be an easier fix, and if we definitely have the bodies to do so into financing these gangs. At the end of the day, we don't have the same. Haiti doesn't have the same gang issues as El Salvador did, although they're still both bad. El Salvador is way worse in the sense that there's before 2019, there was about 100 homicides per 100,000 people in El Salvador, which is not the case for Haiti, which most of the gang activities is mainly kidnappings. Last thing I wanted to look at here is there's been so this is from Jake Johnson, a journalist. He said, Ariel Henry, Haiti's de facto prime minister, is trapped on the tarmac at Port-au-Prince Airport. Protesting police officers have it surrounded, some broke inside. Earlier, police attacked Henry's residence. A response to the killing of 6 officers yesterday, though it's been building for years. So you can see down here, things are moving, follow the tweet, things are moving fast and much that is still very much unclear. After multiple hours, now hearing that Henry has made it out of the airport to go where. So we don't know where dude went, but he was stuck in Port-au-Prince. Now, these protests weren't directed specifically towards him, but they're based off with the situation in Haiti and the gang activity here. So I'll read it to you. I'll just give you a quick summary. La police nationale d'Haïti a vécu une nouvelle journée de somme le mercredi 25 janvier. 6 policiers ont été exécutés à Liancourt par des bandits armés. So basically, six police officers died by armed gangs, en prenant les gangs de Savien et Mort. La mort de ces agents ajoutée à celle de 7 autres tués à Carrefour et à Métivier. And there was also 7 others that were killed last week, earlier during the week, by gangs as well. So police officers losing their life. Des barricades venues enflammées et ont été dirigées à centre fil au Port-au-Prince et à zone Baudon à l'une d'Également et Pétionville. Et les activités formelles à transport commun et perturbées. So yeah, this was mainly because of these protests that were going on. I'll show you a clip here. This is from the airport. Just 10 seconds. So we'll see how this goes. That's mainly the situation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.